Hello and welcome to the show. I am back here on Car Mechanic Simulator. Today we are going to be working on a couple of things. Finally, after many, well probably even months since we first saw a Mclaren F1, I'm going to restore one of these vehicles. I think I haven't quite got all of the front bits and pieces off. Yeah. We're going to pull this car apart. We're going to borrow the engine from the SLR at some... I say borrow the engine. Yeah, we're going to take the engine from the SLR, stick it into here because they will both work with the same engine. The McLaren won't quite get as much horsepower with the way that the kind of game stats work with sort of different cars sharing engines and so on. This one here starts off with 515 horsepower, whereas the SLR was over 700 horsepower. And while it's still going to have the same level of upgrades on it, it will mean that yeah, this is going to be a slightly less powerful car. However, I am hoping a better, potentially controlled car. The detail on the McLaren mod is fantastic. I mean, it was when we saw it again many months ago when I first came across one in a junkyard. So yeah, there's lots of little things with these vehicles. As far as actually repairing work goes on this car, not going to be much of a problem. Now, we don't have any sort of, front subframes and so on to deal with. We don't actually have any fancy rear stuff either. It's just double wishbone suspension all around. And that's kind of it, because, well, the rest of the car, the rest of the chassis, with the way that this game works and so on, I guess there either wouldn't be space to fit the the bits in, or certainly not in the way that you might perhaps want them. So yeah, this is probably the most valuable car I will have worked on. The Shelby Daytona was worth a lot of money. The Shelby Daytona was worth a huge amount of money, but in terms of value, this one will win when it is fully restored. But it actually could probably be one of the fastest rebuilds I've done, because yeah, we've just got the double wishbone suspension on each corner to take out, and an engine. Now, I have taken the engine out of this car. This was a junkyard find, so there was about 3 bits of the engine which were taken out, and that was that. Yeah, again, it's just going to be the same. We've got rear drive axles at the back, and that is about it. In terms of performance, bits and pieces, no real exhaust system to speak of on this car. No exhaust system that we can modify. Again, it's all done via bodywork bits. To have the vehicle look correctly, they've had to use sort of bodywork bits rather than mechanical parts, of course, because we can't have custom-made bits. You're kind of using what you can from the game, from the game parts and so on, to make these cars look vaguely correct. That's going to be the final wheel off of this. Yeah, it's going to be a fairly straightforward one. Brake discs away. Kind of surprised. I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen vehicles with vented brakes on the back. I don't know whether that's just something the game doesn't allow. The game doesn't expect you to have vented discs on the back, because let's face it, a McLaren F1, of course, it's still going to have a lot of braking going through the front of the car, but you would probably want vented discs on the back of this one. But there we go. Would be nice to see things like carbon ceramic brakes as an option for, like tuning as an option for upgrading your vehicles. Would be an interesting thing, but alas, we do not. Now, there is a brake servo somewhere in here that I don't know how... we go through there. That'll do. So, don't know how we're going to get to it. Easily done. And then one more wheel and tyre combination to take off. Interestingly, this comes with, I say road tyres from standard. I'm expecting this to be on slick tyres, but apparently not. Oh, got to get a battery out of the front as well before we forget. Now, this vehicle, when it came from the junkyard, I think it was about 900,000, which is not cheap for a for a car from a junkyard. 900 grand is a fair amount, hence why I am well under that 10 million mark that I did enjoy at one point. But I would be fairly sure that simply welding up the body frame on this car is going to pay a lot of money, or certainly up the value of the car massively. So let's get the last couple of bits off. I think we took out all the interior bits because we borrowed stuff for the McLaren for the SLR. Yeah, I think we did actually. Because there kind of is sort of seats going on in there. How does this one work actually? Come to think of it, with the okay, so it's the front The driver's seat, the seat in the middle, is the only one that's an actual seat that we can take in and out. The other kind of passenger seats are built in, if you like, for the sake of this. Car battery, oh, yoink, that one there out. We will go, well, there's one on charge already, and take that one. We might as well stick that one on charge. Okay, so body frame weldery tool, you are important. Go to car lifter B. Right, now, as it stands, with the vehicle stripped completely, I say completely, left, oh, there's some windows on the car. Ah, sneaky buggers. Window, that's it. That's the last of the windows done. So now with the car stripped completely of any parts, it's worth $156,000. So I had a little bit of a recording crash in everything, but I've repaired as many parts as I can for the McLaren. Got one quarter done, got wheels repaired, tyres done, balanced, springs and everything all done. So now it's just a case of sticking things back onto the car. I would like to point out the size of the rear tyres on this vehicle. They are immense. They are 345s at the back. Yeah, of course, it's a full-on race car, the McLaren, but big tyres. Definitely the biggest tyres I think I've had on a vehicle. I guess as it comes, I might have made bigger tyres at some point. I don't even know if I have made bigger tyres, I'll be honest. With anything that I've worked on in this game, it's pretty damn impressive. Pretty damn impressive indeed on the McLaren, but most things about this car are pretty damn impressive, let's face it. Right, rear suspension, now we're going to have to buy a couple more of these to get the vehicle finished off. Only had to buy like a couple of bits for all the shock absorbers, and all the wheels and tyres were repaired, which was nice. Makes a change, really. Oh, we're going to need to buy, so rear hub B, bottom suspension arm, we need 2 of those. We need the hub rear, wheel hub B. Ooh, that's a good question. Are we going to need one of those? And then I guess potentially I'll buy a couple of these just in case. Only 200. I'm working on a McLaren F1 GT. I think I can spare $200 on the off chance that I might need it and I can avoid going to the menu again. It's kind of like a fairly safe bet in all of that. Drive axle there. Brake disc. We are going to have to buy at some point another set of pads. I think we need like 1 caliper. Yeah, we will need 1 caliper to finish off the vehicle. That's okay, we can deal with all of that, and there we go. Wheel is on. How much is the value of this car shooting up by? Probably not too much at the moment. Yes, probably not going to do too much with me sticking on the running gear. These bits are, you know, transferable between just about every vehicle in the game, and therefore not going to be worth the crazy big money for a car like this. Oh, bugger, bottom suspension. Oh, they use different suspension arms at the front. Oh, damn. I tried to be efficient. It didn't work at all. Upper suspension arm, we have got 2 of those remaining, which is nice. Yeah, with parts like this, you know, the upper suspension arm is the same bit that's used on the basic cheapo cars. So these won't add a huge amount of value. Where we are likely to see the value for this vehicle come in is when we get to the bodywork. That's likely to up the value considerably. I don't know how much this car is going to be worth by the time we're finishing it. Honestly, we could be looking at. Ooh, we need some vented discs. We could be looking at 10, 12 million potentially for the car. It is. Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy expensive car, but you would expect it to be, let's face it. I think we needed 1 set of pads, maybe 1 of those as well. We'll see. Oh, I needed bearings, didn't I? I think we'll need 1 when we get around to the other side, but never mind. We're here now. Brake pads in. The caliper is on. Perfect. And then we go. Oh, we need tie rods. Inner and outer tie rods. I don't think this car actually had a steering rack for me to worry about. Yeah, because it kind of all just goes into that centre, very busy area of the car. So we get away with not having to need any of that either. Oh, and wheel on that side. I mean, the fronts are 275s on this, which are pretty... Oh, I've done it the wrong way around. I was going to say, that doesn't look right. That would be because I put the 275 on the rear like a fool. I will eventually. I thought I had got it sorted this time around. Like, I was even talking about it and everything, and I'm still an idiot. I need to play this game for like a week straight, and then it will be ingrained in my in my head. And then I'll take a week off doing something else, and then it'll completely... I just don't remember to do stuff on this game, ever. It's terrible, I know, but it will be forever... I mean, I should leave the car running wonky just to annoy people. However, it will be forever... I will just not think about stuff. Right, other side of the vehicle. This is the most simple vehicle I think you will ever work on, and I'm still managing to balls things up. Bottom suspension arm section, normal bottom suspension arm for the front. I desperately need to sort out my inventory. When it is getting to the point where it's lagging the game so much when I go into it, that's when you really know you need to empty the crap out of it. While it has been nice, just be able to sort of dip into the parts that I have hanging around and often be able to complete cars without needing to buy stuff, it's starting to get a bit silly now. So I think we will chuck it all out. And we'll probably make some money. There's probably various bits of stuff that have been repaired and whatnot that will actually be able to make us a bit of money or with all of that. Bearing, yeah, it was a bearing we needed. Bearing, we'll have bearing, that's the one. And then we'll be ready for the big engine transplant and bodywork stuff. Again, the engine, while it is probably the most valuable engine you get in the game, that's not going to be where the money lies in this car. Oh, tie rods, I believe we had these hanging around as well. Perfect, tie rod. Oh, we didn't have an outer tie rod. Whoops, that would have been good for me to remember, but there we go, like many things. Outer tie rod is in. Done. Wheels can go on. Don't have to worry about steering rack and all of that guff, as I said, because it's kind of all in there. Basically, I imagine trying to get everything to fit inside what is a fairly interesting shaped body and fairly sort of compact body in many ways, which doesn't quite work on this game. So there we go. And it'll look the part when we've got all the bodywork on. Perfect. Battery we can install at the front. We have one of those hanging around now. Body-wise... Come on, game. There we are. What do we have? Do we have the hood? I couldn't repair it. Bugger. We definitely didn't have any of the headlights. Window? No. Now, we do have both doors, it seems, which is cool. Definitely haven't got the mirrors. Did we have any of the windows? No. Okay, so we're going to need to buy all the windows. Left door. Oh, we repaired both the left and right door. No, we did have that window. Did we repair it? Nope, that was buggered. Rear left door. No, we don't have that. Rear window. Couldn't repair that. Trunk. Oh, bugger. We've got very little body. Well, this is going to be a costly repair on the McLaren. We have got both taillights. Yay. We did have one of these. Oh, we got the left fender repaired. That's nice. Was it this side we had the door? Ah, we did have. I thought we had one of the doors around. One of the side bits, whatever you want to call it. Right, so I'm actually going to use the parts for this. Try to remember to use this where we can. So we'll need, work on the assumption we don't have that yet. Right, so we will need all of these. Oh, come back. It's not the easiest. Sometimes it's a little bit dodgy when looking at these. The reason why I'm using the part list for this car more than perhaps some other ones is I am fully expecting these to be horrendously expensive, so I don't want to screw up with the whole buying the wrong part. You could probably waste, I don't know, 100 grand buying wrong parts very easily on this. I guess I could just sell them back to the game, but we'll try and do it properly here. And that'll be that. So yeah, trunk we've done, rear window we've done. We have all of the back of the car, essentially. There isn't a wing to go on this one. Right. To the mod car part shop. One, two, three, 2, 1. Well, I was not... Oh, bloody hell, the rear window's 65 grand. I was not wrong. Bits are expensive. They could be worse, I guess. It could be worse on here, but that's still a lot of money. So we need left door window, yes. We need right door window as well. We need a front window, yes. Did we need the hood? We did. Get that. We need both of the body windows. We need the... Now, it's not the rear... right door. We need the rear left door, don't we? Yes. Okay, we can get that. Oh, I didn't see what fender we needed. Bugger. We need both mirrors. We will also need both headlights. So we'll grab those. That mirror. Body window, that. We do need, unfortunately, I hate to have to do it. 65 grand. We need it. The rear window is actually slightly less because I've got various perks. We need the trunk window. And bloody hell, that is the most expensive part I have seen in this game. The trunk, or essentially the engine cover, is over 100,000, 110,000, 99 for me with the various perks. Bloody hell, that's a lot of money. That's an absurdo amount of money. Right, headlights are in, a window is in. I'm really looking forward to driving this car. I'm hoping that this is going to be brilliant to drive. It'll be a bit of a sad day if the McLaren turns out to be wobbly, difficult to get around a corner. However, you never know. You never know with Car Mechanic Simulator. Where did the window go that I bought for all that? Supposed to go? That is a very good question. It is right fender that we need. I'm hoping. Okay, it doesn't lag getting into this menu if you go. If you kind of have it already loaded. It's when you load it up with all of the cars, all of the mod parts in here, because I've specified to search for F1. So when you load it up with all of the mod parts in there, that's when it gets quite angry at you. Rear fender. We can have a number plate. This one from Missouri, that can stay on there because it's the plate I have hanging around. Body window over there. Now, how are we doing? In fact, are we ready for the huge amount of money that this car is going to be worth? 7.6 million. 7.6 million. Admittedly, we haven't touched the interior as of yet, and of course, we haven't got the engine into the car. So there is a fair amount of sort of percentage-wise, when you get to 100% restoration, that there is a huge, or a pretty sizable bump in terms of value. Right. Time for the engine. Time for the engine. I'm not 100% sure where the... oh, okay. There's something in there that we need to worry about. Oh, wait. It'll go back to normal mode, isn't... I can't open that because that's not an openable thing. There is some stuff in here that we need to worry about in terms of building the car up. Ugh. There we go. That's a bit of a bugger to get to. Oh, brake servo. We needed one of those. We need air filter base. That looks like it for stuff up here. Sure, we can do that. We can get air filters. Alright, air filter. We will need air filter base, and I would assume air filter cover. We will need some clips, most important, of course, on the McLaren. I can't remember which ones it is, so we'll buy 4 of each just to be on the safe side. Oh, there's 5 of that one. There's an extra one just for good luck and everything. We also need a performance air filter because that will give us a little bit more... oopsie, wrong one. Anything we can get a little bit more power out of the car, I will be happy with, and we need to get a fuel pump for it. Perfect. Then it'll be time to go. Even with these, what should be a we do have a performance one hanger. Even what should be a relatively simple rebuild on this game, there's still a lot of fiddly little bits to deal with. I say fiddly bits to deal with around the car. There's just lots of detail in the vehicles, if you like. So that's all of that done. We will grab the fuel pump over there. Oh, we will grab the fuel pump. We'll get the right fuel pump into the car. Oh, there we go. And then it's engine time. I don't think we have to worry too much when it comes to engine in this car. We don't have to worry about too much with the sort of driveline and so on. Of course, we will need the gearbox, but that can all come out of here. Right, we'll lift the car up, of course. Don't think we'll have to worry about a drive shaft because it'll all come out with... It'll all go into... This is a mid-engine car. It'll all just go straight into the rear drive axles, essentially, on here. The way that a lot of the mod cars on here work. Could be wrong. I guess we will find out in a minute. Right. Starter motor. Goodbye. Gearbox out as well, so that we can engine crane this one. I love the engine crane. It's brilliant. Otherwise, like, this sort of thing would take so long in Car Mechanic 50. It would take forever swapping the engines over because you'd have to I think you have to pretty much pull them apart, like completely pull them apart and then rebuild them in a separate car. I think, if I remember rightly. Oh, got to get the oil out of it, of course. What about that? I think I've remembered that correctly. I apologise if I haven't remembered it. I'm pretty sure there wasn't a crane in that. So, yeah, this is a lovely, easy way of being able to just swap engines around in all your different cars. We're going to stick the engine in the Brat as well at some point, so very, very helpful. You can go back home. Car, back on the floor, please. Was that number plate from the... Hold on. We've got a lot of... Missouri has got a lot of... I've just realised Missouri has got a lot of Ruil. This one is. This one is from Great Britain. Haha. I got distracted completely. Missouri has a lot of wrecked or abandoned supercars, and Great Britain's got a rusted Brat with a V8 in it. I'm not sure that makes sense. There we go. Pull that engine out of there. You could go across to lift B. Now, install the V8 supercharged. We should have to stick the gearbox on, and that will probably be it for this. That's the fender. Where can I get to the engine from? A little bit awkward trying to work on the engines for these rear, especially a car like this with such a long back end. Just trying to get to the point where I can click on the engine is not easy. Oh god, how do I get to? Oh wait, hold on. If we get to air intake, there it is. Magical hitbox. Boop, boop, boop. Come on, I need to get to the air intake. You know what? Better idea. You can come off. Then it'll probably be easier to look into the part we want. There we go. Oh, bugger, we're gonna lift it up anyway. Crap, I thought we could do... I keep forgetting we need to do stuff from different angles. Yeah, apparently real pain in the ass to work on the engine from above it. It'll be a real pain in the ass to get to the engine. How do we get to the engine from down here then? Can we just sort of teleport our way into... no, because we have to go via the engine. Actually, no, we might be able to do this. We can just go straight to the gearbox from that angle. That's fine then. And start a motor, and then a little bit of oil. Ooh, how are you gonna... Oh, I guess we'll just... No, it was worth faffing around, figuring out how the hell I'm gonna get to the engine, because we will need to dump some oil into it. So, there we go. That should be it for that part. Drop you down. Somehow manage to click on the engine, put the oil in, put the rear of the car back together again. There we go. Oil fill plug. It's almost time. It is almost time, after many months of waiting for me to build one of the McLarens. It is almost time to get the car going. Let's go and check wherever the dipstick is on this. Whereabouts is it on the V8? Oh, is it down in that? Am I being blind? Does it have one to check? I mean, it shouldn't really matter at the end of the day. I probably am just being blind on here. Oh, there it is. It's hidden in that little... Wait, the way... I think it's the way that the... yeah. The way that the sort of gold tips of what would be the exhaust manifold covers that up very, very well. Also, yeah, I am well aware that the McLaren F1 doesn't have a supercharged V8. This is the most powerful engine that we have to play around with in the game. As you can't add in your own custom engines and stuff, you have to make do with the game assets at the moment, and the V8 is all that we have to go with. It should have a V12, but alas, we do not have that. In assemble mode, put the rear window back on again. And then, car status, $8.9 million with our vehicle so far. $8.9 million. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money indeed. Now, it says global part condition only 85%, considering the only things we're missing are a seat and a steer. Oh, it's the trunk window. I don't know how... I don't know what trunk window it wants me to... Where it's wanting me to assemble that. We'll have to... Maybe we'll move the car to one of the entranceways. In fact, we need to move the car to an entranceway anyway to do the interior. So maybe I can figure out where on earth the trunk window... Where it wants me to click to put the trunk window on. Because as far as I can tell... Ah, there. That's what it wants the trunk window to go on. Perfect. So now if we... go back to the normal mode for a second. Ah, that's clever. Okay, it's quite difficult to see because, again, you stand so far away from this car because it's so long and wide, but it kind of covers up the engine to try and make it look more like it, like the engine that it should be. So you can kind of see the McLaren engine cover, if you like, over there on it. That's quite clever. That's a clever way of doing it. And that should, I say should, has ramped the car value up a little bit more. We're up to $9 million on this. So now it is just a seat, a steering wheel, and an interior clean. Ooh, can we... We might have to go move you back onto the lifter, actually, because I don't think I can do interior stuff with the car in the entranceway, because I think this will only ever be able to move to... oh no, we can move it to the shop entrances. I did not realise that. I don't think I've ever tried that. And use $100 on that. Move equipment. You can go home. How much is that? Yeah, so the interior clean that cost me $100 added over $500,000. Over $500,000 to the McLaren. And then the final, I say the final piece. We've got to paint it as well, because it's currently mismatched, and that's not going to do on a car like this. We need some form of... That's new. Roadrunner. I think that's new. I don't recognise the name Roadrunner. I don't recognise the logo either. That's why when I was just scrolling down... Oh, of course, that'll be the Plymouth stuff. That'll be the Plymouth stuff. Makes sense. Makes sense indeed, because I don't think I haven't paid much attention going through here, because I think I've stolen bits out of other cars before. Steering wheel, yes, and we need some form of... Again, I've said this before, but there's not a real great selection in terms of like proper racing bucket seats. The one that I've tended to be using is the Seat 11, a variation of that. It'll do for now. It will do for now, but there is, yeah, not a great choice for that sort of thing. Interior, assemble, front seats. Yeah, we've got stacks of seats hanging around, but that's the one that we want. And then steering wheel is in normal mode. We go. McLaren, you are now worth $10.7 million. That's a lot of money. That is an astronomical amount of money. This thing without the engine is worth $700,000. I was planning, and I probably will still sell some of these cars with the engine, without an engine in them, because I want to swap this engine around and I can't be bothered to build up another engine and so on. So I might sell that McLaren for $700,000 or whatever. While the engine isn't worth $800,000 nearly, the engine itself isn't actually worth a huge, staggering amount of money. It's the percentage bonus you get for 100% completing a car. That's where the big money is coming from with some of these vehicles. I really hope we have a livery on this. I really hope we can make it a Gulf livery. Paint shop. Here we go. And we can have... Oh, we can't. That's slightly disappointing. Well, I guess we are going to... what colour? I guess we go for like a nice British racing green. That's actually not too bad at all. Do we have a... No, that's not really making... yeah, it makes a little bit of difference. Sure. It looks a bit better than the... turquoise, I guess? Colour that it came with. And at least it's all one colour. So that is definitely a bonus. Right, before we go take it around the track, you can go to the dyno room. We'll see how much power the engine's producing. We're not expecting 1,000 horsepower out of it. However, if we can be getting... I'm not sure I quite got the green right. It looks a bit different in the bloody paint booth when there's all the massive lights on it, but never mind. If we go at 600-700 horse, we should be getting 700-800 horsepower, actually. Looking at how much power it starts with and what the engine's likely to be gaining in. Nah, we're not going to crack 1,000 because that would require 100% power increase. But we might crack 800. Thinking about it, it is going to be... Oh, it's cracked 900. 903 horsepower, 75% power gain, not too shabby whatsoever. 900 horsepower, McLaren F1. Is it, though, going to be quick enough around the racetrack to beat a Pontiac GTO? And that's probably not a sentence anybody has ever said about the F1 GT. Right, here we are at the test track the McLaren in all of its glory is very cool to, of course, be sat in the middle of a car. How are we going to deal with the 900 horsepower? Oh, squiggly. Squiggly is how we are going to deal with it. Now, the tyres, in terms of compound, the game does call them race compound tyres. However, these are not full-on slick tyres. They're not full-on. So they're kind of, I guess, the road legal sort of semi-slick tyres you can have on vehicles, which should give us some good grip, but is also a little bit on the terrifying side, quite frankly, to drive. As much as I like, well, you know, driving in the middle of the car, something a bit different, with the amount these cars slightly wobble from interior view when they start going very fast, is a little bit sickening. So I will tend to bail and go drive in the third-person point of view. It's fine when you're in some of the low-powered cars, but the speeds that this thing's going, and yeah, I don't know, it just doesn't work for me, really. Okay, on to the start-finish straight we go here. Now, how fast can I get the car before we start wobbling? Oh, that bump causes issues. Yeah, we're just going to wobble our way. Yeah. These cars are not easy to drive. These cars are really not easy to drive, the real high-powered ones around here. I miss the Peugeot. The Peugeot was one of the nicest vehicles I think I've driven in this game, full stop. It wasn't as fast as the Pontiac, but I think that was helped by the giant drag slicks on the, well, I say drags, the giant slicks on the car may well have helped the Pontiac. Next time out, we're going to try messing around with different tyres. Now I've got this built and the SLR built, we'll probably I'll buy a set of race tyres and kind of swap them between the cars and see what we can do. I nearly rolled a $10 million McLaren. Oops. Oops, indeed. Nobody saw that. Nothing happened. Okay. I think the splitter on this car causes issues, shall we say. The splitter gets caught on the curb and that will launch the car around. Now, what happens if we go down this side of the road? Avoid, oh no, as soon as you touch that kind of slight crest in the road, it gets all very, very unhappy. Right, slow it down into turn 1, throw it into turn 2, across the grass we go, and sideways. Well, that's all amazingly, amazingly well driven by me. The good news, in terms of lap speed, they are quicker than the SLR. The SLR was 1:02. In fact, in wobble suspension and wiggle suspension mode, both did 1:02s. So, with the wobble suspension being slightly faster, this is already 2 seconds quicker, and that involved a humongous off. So, we should be able to get this under the 1 minute mark without too many issues. Whether we can go, I think about 57 seconds is the time we're trying to beat for the Shelby Daytona and 2:05. So if we can go sub 57 seconds, might actually be a bit of a push for this car. Might not be that easy to do. Now, can we get it? I don't think I've actually been full throttle going down the straight as of yet. Now we can. I'm going to give it a try. No, I'm going to have to lift because we started steering randomly. Why do you do this game? And slow, 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 slow. We're way off again. The inability for cars to go in a straight line down that section is just... it's so irritating. Some cars are okay, like the 205 I don't remember having issues getting it to go in a straight line. But when you start going up to a car, something like this for example, because I think it's partly because of the speed and partly because of the power, and the game just can't deal with trying to figure out how this vehicle is supposed to go in a straight line. It's a weird problem that I don't think I've ever seen any other game have. It's a really weird problem, and it's bizarre that it doesn't affect the slow cars in the same... I say it's bizarre, it doesn't affect the slow cars, but yeah, the slower the car, the nicer it is to drive in many ways. There's a happy medium in which the 205 hits about perfectly with being fast and still being controllable. Now, we have got this time straight. Oh, no, as soon as we go over a crest, the car just spears off into the wall, and if you try and correct it, it'll spear off in other directions, and I am hoping that when we stick the car on race tyres, maybe that is going to help us. Oh, I say race tyres, on slick tyres, maybe that's going to help us bounce up another wall. Okay, so we're down to, the first lap was the lap where we nearly rolled was our best lap with this car. Sure. We got down to a 1 minute lap time with this. It is quicker than the SLR. It is a little bit nicer to drive, perhaps helped by having that bit less power. It still has the same inability to drive in a straight line. It's kind of like a remote control car in which getting terrible interference as you're going down the straight because it's randomly, suddenly, we're going left now. And it's not, not fun to have to deal with. However, yeah, a cool vehicle, most definitely, to work on. We have finally got the McLaren restored, and we're going to be making plenty of money. Plenty of money indeed when it comes to selling these cars. That, though, is going to be it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.